I was months into building and racing competitors on features, more integrations, more configuration options, and a more advanced system than everybody else in the space. But if I had kept going in that direction for one more month, I would have shipped something nobody needed. Months of work, a burned runway, and I would have built a product for a buyer that did not even exist. But one conversation stopped that from happening, and what that conversation revealed completely changed how I think about what buyers evaluate before they decide to buy something. Most founders ship products that do not sell and then spend months trying to figure out why, and the answer is almost always the same. They built the wrong thing, not because they lacked the skills or resources, but because they were building for a completely different evaluation criteria. Buyers evaluate products based on two things, and founders almost always focus on only one of them. I call it something like the floor effect. The floor is the one thing that has to work without failing. The ceiling is the rest of everything. Features, integrations, polish, etc., etc. Founders are trying to build the ceiling because that's what feels like progress, but buyers are only checking the ceiling. By the end of this video, you'll understand both things, what buyers actually evaluate, and the one question that tells you exactly what a buyer floor is before you spend another month trying to build the ceiling. A buyer evaluates a product based on two things, and most founders almost always build only one of them. And here's the first one. The floor. A missing feature costs a buyer nothing. They simply do not have what they did not have before. No real damage. A broken core costs them everything. Their team stops trusting the tool. The decision to choose you seems wrong to the people who approved it. The thing that we're depending on fails exactly when they needed it the most. Pain weighs those two outcomes completely differently. Losing something solid hurts far more than gaining something new helps. This isn't unique to software buying. This is just how risk works in the human brain across almost every decision people make. When a buyer evaluates your product, they're not thinking, what's impressive here? They're thinking, what could go wrong here? And that is the floor effect, and it's the only thing they need confirmed before they consider anything else. I didn't understand this while I was racing competitors on features. I learned it because of one decision I made. I stopped building and I went to find someone who actually lived the problem I was solving. Since you understand what the floor is, now let's dive into what the ceiling is. I found someone inside the exact industry I was building for, someone who dealt with the problem on a daily basis as part of their actual job. I asked them one question: what is the one thing that has to work perfectly for this to actually be useful to you? Not what features would you like, but what has to work perfectly. And he didn't hesitate. He said, the core. The core has to work every single time without complexity getting in the way. And that was the floor confirmed. Everything else, every fancy feature, every integration, every configuration option was the ceiling. And none of it mattered until the floor was solid. Here's what it means beyond my story. The ceiling is real. Buyers do care about features eventually, but the ceiling only gets evaluated after the floor is confirmed. If the floor is uncertain or not confirmed, the buyer never gets to the ceiling. The features become irrelevant because the foundational question was never answered. This is why founders with feature-heavy product often lose to simpler products with stronger cores, not because features do not matter, but because the buyer never got past the floor check. The question, what has to work perfectly, is the fastest way to know your buyer's floor before you build. It cuts through every wish list answer a buyer could give you. When you ask them what features would they like, you'll get a long list of things that sound nice but matter very little. But when you ask what has to work perfectly, you get the floor. That answer should be your entire priority. Build the floor until it's unbreakable, and then and only then start adding the ceiling. Two things: floor first, ceiling second. But most founders do it backwards and then spend months trying to figure out why buyers aren't impressed. Before your next build decision, before the next feature, find your floor. Ask someone who lived the problem what has to work perfectly for it to be useful to you. And whatever they say, that's your floor. Start building that until it holds under pressure before you build anything else. Buyers do not buy your ceiling. They buy the confidence that your floor will not crack under pressure. And once that floor is confirmed, the next question is, how do you make your buyer feel that confidence before they even tried your product? And that's exactly what we're getting into next. Stay tuned. Peace out.